Hello, my name is Alun, and this evening I'm facilitating a session of Jamila Nedjadi's, I beg your pardon, gaming development of deep space horror called Through a Mirror Darkly. This is a one-shot belonging outside belonging game. It could be GM-less, but because I'm a coward, I'm going to take the role of facilitator and just help the players run this game themselves. This session has been organized as part of the Gauntlet RPG Community's monthly games calendar. If you don't know about the Gauntlet, then please do check it out. You will find it, just search Gauntlet RPG and you will find us. We have hundreds of game sessions running online with players from around the world, and indeed today we are positively transatlantic in our coverage. The other thing the Gauntlet does is it runs a series of podcasts, Plus One Forward, Fear of the Black Dragon, the Gauntlet podcast itself, and most recently the Trophy podcast. And it's quite interesting that at the minute Plus One Forward is running a summer season all about belonging outside belonging games. And I must say I have been listening to those over and over again to try and ding this system into my head, the way to approach it. This game is designed to include, and this is a content warning, I guess, and even encourage character death. But players will remain involved because if their character dies during play, then they will take on a playable aspect of the Palantir, the ship that they are going to investigate. So that, and then they will challenge the remaining characters. So we could end up with one player and 3 GMs in play, plus me shouting from the sidelines. So the concept, something went badly wrong aboard a spaceship called the Palantir. And the setup is that the characters, the player characters, will be the crew of a ship that has been sent to investigate the Palantir. Whether the Palantir has reappeared in space or whether it's always been there and finally someone's going to look at it, I think we can discuss. We don't know what went wrong with the Palantir, and so one of the things we will define early on in terms of the setting is we'll define the Palantir's mission and some of its characteristics, as well as whatever unknown horrors lurk aboard. Then we'll play to find out what happens. In terms of tone and subject matter, this is a dark game in which characters, as I've said, will die. There is actually someone will die, at least one person will die, or perhaps even worse, be twisted by their experiences aboard the Palantir. The principal touchstone is Event Horizon, the 1997 movie. But depending on the way we shape the Palantir in the play, we could also touch on aspects of Life from 2017, Alien from 1979 and onwards, Sunshine even from 2007, or Solaris from 1972, or I think the inferior remake. We could therefore, and again, content warning, see gore, body horror, psychological horror, the dragging up of characters past dark pasts, the stripping away of their personalities to reveal true motives, all very hairy stuff. We'll therefore be using the safety tools espoused by the Gauntlet community. We'll be playing with the X card. Now, I know all these players have played with the Gauntlet before, but I will just reiterate that in my case, the best way to bring up the X card is to make the X. I'm personally not very good at checking the chat, but putting in the chat. If one player puts it in the chat and nobody seems to react, and then somebody else does notice it, please bring it up on their behalf. The X card is there just to halt play, and no one will ask why the X card has been played. We may want to sort out exactly how far back in the narrative we want to rewind to avoid the stuff that may have disturbed the person playing the X card. We certainly won't want to know why it's upset them or concerns them or disturbed them. But we may want to go back to a point and then play forward to avoid that material or that bit of narrative, a bit of fiction. We're also playing with open door, and the open door is there because life goes on behind us when we're facing these screens and around us. the open door means that if anybody has to step away from the virtual table at any one point, that's fine. We'd love to have you come back. You know, if you're gone for 10 minutes, then we will assume that you're not coming back imminently, and we'll just get on with play. You know, we'll reintegrate you when you come back if stuff comes up. We're also playing with the Gauntlet Code of Conduct. The links to this can be found on the Gauntlet RPG Community's website. It is a broad description and sometimes quite detailed about what we think is a very positive play culture that encourages people to feel comfortable and able to take risks in terms of their role playing around this virtual table. I sometimes summarize it as "don't be a dick." But you know, it's a fabulous document, and I now, you know, use whole chunks of it when I'm playing in other places, either face to face previously or now increasingly online. The other safety tools we're using are lines and veils. There is a safety tab which I direct the players to be just checking out as we talk about this. This one is already filled in. I have to say that some of them predate when I picked this up. So I've just noticed that, oh, I beg your pardon, that might be that someone has put some in. I will just put those back. So, so we are playing with lines around harm to children and sexual assault. Those are my starting lines. If the players have any others they want to add, then simply tick them, and I'll make sure we check in there before we do anything else. We are, and that stuff just won't come up in the fiction. We will draw a line there. We will be veiling, which is to say, if it does come up in the fiction, that's fine, but we will draw a discrete veil across it. Currently veiling harm to animals and sexual contact, consensual sex, and drowning, suffocation, or being buried alive. There's another category here called Ask First, which is if we are going to touch on, if anybody wants to raise in the fiction stuff like alcoholism, drug abuse, romance with PCs, then check in, please, with us, with the table, to see if we're comfortable going that direction. So those are the ones that currently are set up in the safety tab. If anyone wants to add some more to that, please do while we're just getting ready to play. So with all that in mind then, I'd like to consider the setup. Now, I thought about how to do this, and I think I might just share this screen or share this window, because I think it might be quite interesting. I think that should work. I'm hoping that everyone can see the tab that's about the Palantirs. Yeah, okay. And I'm hoping that if I move it in front of me so I can look at you while I'm dealing with it, that you can still see it now. Yeah, oh, good. It means I hit the right Zoom share screen button. Okay, so what was there's a Pinterest board there if you're interested in just browsing some possible character inspirations. But let us begin with talking about the Palantirs. Oh, sorry, you see, I haven't done this for a month, and I haven't even asked people to introduce themselves. So rusty. So can I just ask in turn, and I'll do it in the order I can see you. So Max, can I start with you and just ask you to say hello? Maybe say something about, I don't know, let me just get rid of that story. Let me just get rid of that because we want to see this. Tell us something about yourself. Tell us about how long you've been with the Gauntlet, anything you like, or nothing.
Sure. I'm Max. I use he, him pronouns. I joined the Gauntlet about 2 months ago, maybe, like relatively recently. Have been enjoying it so far. Can recommend it for anybody who isn't part of the Gauntlet community yet. Yeah, I'm excited. I just watched Event Horizon as preparation, so good to go.
Oh, Kim, say hello. Tell us something about your experience with the Gauntlet, maybe, or just say hello. And do give us your pronouns, please.
Hello, my name is Kim. You can use she or they pronouns for me. I think I've been with the Gauntlet for about 9 months, but as we were talking about earlier, time is meaningless.
Yeah, we live in a time when time is absolutely flexible and variable. Ike, say hello, and well, just say hello and tell us something.
Hello, I'm Micah. Use he, him pronouns. I'm in Berlin. I have been with the Gauntlet for bit over 2 years, took a break after last Christmas. I rejoined the Gauntlet last week, and this is my first game after my short break, so I'm very happy to play with some familiar and some new faces. And did I forget anything? Well, that's it.
Thank you. And finally, Jim.
Hey, I am Jim Crocker. I use he, him pronouns, but if you are using they, them more generically, that's totally fine with me too. That's not going to bother me. The word that you might describe my experience with the Gauntlet is ubiquitous. I play a lot of games. I run a lot of games. Alan and I see each other on roughly a monthly basis. So I used to sell games at conventions back when there were conventions. Now there are no conventions, so I don't do that anymore. So most of what I'm doing is playing online, running online. I do a little bit of game writing, some scenario design, stuff like that here and there. I've been published in our Gauntlet zine Codex, so you might find some of my work there. You can find me on Twitter at JimLikesGames, and I've got a website, jimlikesgames.com, where you can find out all the other stuff that I'm working on. One other thing that we do at the Gauntlet that I want to mention is we have fantastic quarterly open gaming weekends. And that is when we invite people who are not regular members of the Gauntlet and people who are regular members of the Gauntlet, but specifically we invite the outside community in to come in and kind of do a little smorgasbord, sample the Gauntlet, see what it's like to play with us, to run games for us, invite some creators in to join in on that. And once a year we do kind of a bigger version of that, which we call GauntletCon, and that is coming up in mid-October. So I'll probably nudge Alan to post some links to that and encourage everybody to, if you want to run a game, come, those signups are open, come run games for us. And when you want to play, the listings to jump on and get into games will open on my birthday, October 1st. So your birthday present to me can be come and sign up to play with the Gauntlet. So looking forward to that.
Gosh, yes, I must put some games into that into the Gauntlet open gaming that weekend, or GauntletCon as it now is. I don't think I said my pronouns are he, him, and I'm also very poor at this stuff because I can't get into Codex despite my efforts. So you have to go to itch.io to get any game of mine. But moving on. So this is a game in which we are going to explore some dark themes upon a dangerous and risky spaceship. So let me just reshare that screen so our viewers can see what we're doing. Okay, so let me think. So Max, do you want to have a look at what was the Palantir's mission? Now, it says choose one or two, but the previous playtest advice was the first time out, pick one, and then we might go back and revisit it depending on how we feel about what we get. So there's a drop down there, I think, that I guess looks something like that. I've never tried this with Zoom. I'm assuming that in the recording we will see those examples. So Max, does anything take your eye?
Yeah, I'm just reading those. There's a couple there that are interesting. Something confidential is a little general, but I like it. Yeah, let's go with something confidential, if everybody's okay with that. Leaves us something to discover later on, figure out what they've been up to.
So certainly we will be playing to find out then. Okay, so something confidential. And then, that's the second one, sorry. Let me go to Kim. Kim, what is at the heart of the Palantir? You are muted, Kim.
Apologies. Strange biotech, let me go back to the drop down, that whispers to us in our dreams, if everyone's okay with that.
What could possibly be wrong with that? Okay, so we have a strange biotech that whispers in our dreams. Let me go to Ica. What unknown horrors lurk on the Palantir?
Oh, the options are all extremely good. Devious doppelgangers, a portal to a harrowing dimension, a creature that can look like any of us. Oh, Jesus. I like the idea of a creature that can look like any of us. Yeah, throw in a little suspicion, and you never know if you're talking to the real person or not.
I'm not seeing anyone shaking their head. So okay, we have oh, how awful, a creature that can look like any of us. Jim, we've had a first run through. Is there a second one you would like to add to any of those categories?
Boy, let me see. Let me just take a.
There's a lot in there.
There is, yes, yeah. So we've got something confidential. So you know what? I like the idea that like there's a mission that is like on the books that like, you know, like the janitors and the guys tending the engines think is the mission, and an actual mission that is the confidential mission. Because that's just so Aliens, Dead Space, you know, like I feel like that's right in the territory that we're in here. So so we've got our something confidential mission, and the other mission that I'm going to take is oh, absolutely, transport a colony of humans in stasis. Because like as soon as we find that first empty sleeper bed, that'll kick things off, I think. So
okay, so so the published function is the colony, but we know that there is something else. Whether it is to do with strange biotech that whispers to us in our dreams, and or a creature that can look like any of us, who knows? So
and let me just, and I'm just gonna, just real quick, I think an easy way to get around our no harm to children thing is to just say everyone in these beds are adult volunteers that have agreed to go on this mission.
I think that's very neat. That's very neat. So so let's just, I'll put in the notes then. Adult volunteers. And do we want to do let me go back around and ask Kim. No, hang on, let me do this back the other way. Ica, strange biotech that whispers to us in our dreams. Do you want to add a note to that of any kind? Or are you content to leave it open at this point?
It's difficult to answer because I don't really know the game and whether the game wants us to find out or whether the game is getting better the more we define at the beginning.
My working assumption is that Jamie put a note section there for a reason. So I thought I'd just ask if anybody wanted to fill something in, but I'm very happy for it to stay that open.
Yeah. Yeah, let's keep it as it is.
Okay.
Because I'm out of ideas.
That's okay.
If anyone wants to jump in.
What about a creature that can look like any of us? Kim, is there anything you want to do to flesh that out? Or are you content to leave it as open as it is now?
I'd want to make sure that it could also look like dead people.
Aha.
But that's my only addition.
No, I think that's cool. I may have to go early. This is getting a little scary for me. So we got adult volunteers, but there's something not on the books. Fine. So that I think that gives us a good starting point. Now, if you have a look at the next tab, which is the act structure, before Act 1, begins, choose at least one story beat below. Act 1 ends when the story beat plays out. So you as a group will have control of the kind of pacing, the timing of that Act 1. Though I will try to nudge you if it looks like we're lagging a bit, because I would like to get all the way through 3 acts. The important thing to note is that in between the story beats, focus on exploration, questions, establishing key symbols, feel out your characters, describe the Palantir in detail. At the point when that story beat is hit and Act 1 ends, which of the 3 below? Now I'm trying to think where I got to. I think that I've asked Jim a question, I've asked Iker and Kim 2 questions. Let me go to Max. Max, do you want to put one of those Act 1 story beats on the table and see how folk react to it? React to mission orders, express opinions, a moment of camaraderie and connection, a moment of intimacy and truth, an omen, a sense of foreboding, a haunting, suspicious actions, explanations accepted for now, a violent accident narrowly avoided, a glimpse of the booty the Palantir once was. Is there one of those you want to put up?
Any of those I want to put up. I think an omen, a sense of foreboding, would be good.
How does that sit with the table? Okay, so an omen. So we will play until we get an omen, a sense of foreboding. Jim, I think I owe you a question. When we have had an omen, a sense of foreboding, which of those 3 will close Act 1?
Oh, one of us is chosen and they're gifted with something strange and terrifying.
Okay. Act 2. We do all these at the same time simply so that we've got some idea collectively of where this story is taking us. So you can angle in Act 1 towards Act 2, conceivably. So let me go to Iker. The mirror shatters. Before Act 2 begins, choose any 2 story beats below. Would you like to choose one of them?
Mm-hmm. Each are haunted, eternal false hope shattered. The Palantir's terrible past is revealed. The Palantir chooses sign of death, desperate pleading, death, loud and explosive death. There's a lot of death in here.
For reasons that will shortly become apparent.
All right. How about the crew's torn apart? I think if there is a mysterious creature or creatures on board of the ship that can look like any of us, it seems like the crew is easily to be torn apart in Act 2, right?
Okay.
So
does that run with the reels? No objections? Okay. Then Kim, I think, is next on the list. Would you like to choose the second story beat for Act 2?
A death witnessed by no one.
Oh, a sad and lonely exit. Okay, a death witnessed by no one. Let me go to Max. In between these story beats, focus on mounting terror, false leads, the horror fully revealed, create peril for your characters, describe how the Palantir shows a dark reflection of each one. When the act is completed, which of those would you like to be true?
We already had the chosen in the first act. I feel like the transformed is similar. It could be the same person, maybe. I kind of like that one, but I don't know if we're doubling up then. Kind of thinking between this one and We Are the True Monsters. Anybody have any preference there?
Anyone want to step up and help Max split the difference?
So there's, I think there's really fruitful stuff there if you choose that transformation one, because that can either be an acceleration of what happened in that first act, or it can create conflict between 2 people that got chosen by the Palantir for different reasons. I think there's some pretty fruitful story stuff there, as opposed to it being just a repetition of what's going on in Act 1.
Does that help split the difference, Max?
Yeah, sure. That sounds like we should go for it.
Transformed it is. Okay. I think I've evened up the questions and answers now. So Jim, let me go to you and say, before Act 3 begins, choose any 3 story beats.
Oh, I think like if this is a 3-act structure, then the crew coming back together after being torn apart, because they're so desperate that they realize that's the only way they'll get through it is the story beat I want to see happen.
Okay. Ika, what about you?
A sacrifice is made. You know, the newly combined or reunited crew needs to make a sacrifice.
Okay, Max, what about a 3rd story beat?
I think a death welcome and peaceful would be good to have.
Oh, because by then it won't seem like a terrible thing. And that leaves Kim, you to pick out, in between those story beats, focus on a sliver of hope, the overwhelming promise of doom, strive, fail, and succeed at incredible cost. Describe how the Palantir desperately attempts to survive. So which one of those final options appeals? Oh, you are muted.
Thank you. At least one of us survives, but the Palantir survives in some shape or form.
So we could come back. Okay, so we have our broad narrative structure. The next tab is characters. So I think I'll go bounce back down, start with Max. Max, do you have a preference in terms of the character type? We have the captain, the outsider, the sentinel, the specialist, the survivor, and the rookie.
I don't have a strong preference. I'm good with choosing last if anybody else has a preference.
I won't stand in your way. I'll work my way down and see if everybody else is prepared to step up to the plate. Kim, preference?
I think the specialist, but I'm not super wedded to it if that is someone else's preference as well. If it is someone's preference, I'll take survivor.
So I'm mentally logging specialist with a backup to survivor. Ika, what about you?
Sentinel, outsider. So many good ones here. Outsider, maybe.
Okay, and finally, Jim.
I'll be the sentinel.
Okay, so that I think means that the specialist is all yours, Kim. So I think that the details are pretty much self-explanatory. So do you just want to?
Doesn't Max still actually need to pick?
Oh, sorry, Max. Yeah, you said. I bet. Thank you, Jim.
Take from what was left. Yeah.
Yeah.
Max, we have the outsider, the sentinel, and the specialist, I think.
I think I need to play the survivor here.
Okay. So if you would like to fill in your names, pronouns, character name now or later, and just work your way down, just for those of you that aren't familiar with BOB, the lure, each of you has a specific lure. When someone does something or tells you something, they earn a token. So this is to encourage other players to interact with you. And if you can set them up to encourage them to interact with you, that's great, and vice versa. And then there are a series of drop downs at the bottom around name, look, what haunts me, or other questions, blah, blah, blah. So off you go. I'll stop sharing and just let you get on, and then we'll introduce characters when you've had to go. That is a freaky looking outsider. I am going to ask Kim a nickname based on my flaws. Vera?
It's a work in progress. I may come back to that.
Oh, a name borrowed from a dead crewmate.
There's such great options in there.
I can't help wondering whether Stephen Ross may appear on the Palantir.
I think I also got his dog tags. That's one of the looks I have. Was it the look? It's one of the options I chose, I think.
Oh, yes, so you did. Scars that never stay in the same place. Oh, I have some questions to ask about some of this. That's a slightly disconcerting combination. A catchphrase I use too much and soft eyes.
Like all the options I chose are gonna get me killed by the crew.
Well, then we're simply in the question of whether that is a relief in the third act, or miserable and solitary in the second act.
Might be peaceful. We will see.
So should we hold off on the what connects us? Is that a thing we're having a conversation about with other characters?
Yeah, I think that would be the
Okay.
best idea. But I think we're done, aren't we? Is everybody happy?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so let's have some introductions to the character then. In the order of the character keeper, which I think starts with you, Eike. Tell us about Karl von Krausenstein.
Yes, he's obviously of some German descent or whatever that is in our universe. Count Karl von Krausenstein is an older man. Yes, you can see the image there. Older man, white hair, and apparently modified by some sort of biotechnology, has two different eye colors, yellow and blue. So we imagine he looks pretty much like that person on the picture. And he is the outsider. I'm not sure how much I am already to give you, or whether we want to play to find out. Learn more about him during play.
I think I think if you give us the description below the character image, that would be helpful.
Do you want me to read that up?
Yeah, I think that would be good.
The crew are all strangers to me. This mission comes second to nothing else. I must ensure my employer's agenda is met. I'll do what I need to do to protect my standing. I am haunted by my hubris, but no one but the horrors know how I am complicit in all this. My power comes from knowledge stolen, my demise comes from enabling the horror.
Well, that's just peachy, thank you. Moving along, Jim, tell us about the vet.
Yeah, let me spell veteran correctly there. Let me start with that. So I am just known as the veteran. I think the other crew members have come to just shorten that and call me Vet. And that is based on a name that invites questions, which is what I chose for that. The crew need my protection. This mission won't come between us. I don't care who or what I have to break. No sacrifice is too great for the crew. I'm haunted by my guilt, but no one but the horrors know how weak I truly am. My power comes from my immovable strength. My demise comes from underestimating the horror. I've got a name that invites questions. My look, something that shows how hard I try to be a better person who deserves a second chance, which is essentially like one of those chips from like an addiction recovery program that I carry around with me, that I wear where I would have worn dog tags, right? I don't have dog tags anymore, but whatever passes for dog tags, I've got my, 3 years since I last abused my combat drugs that I used to take during the, when I was in the war chip that I have that I carry around with me. What else we got here? A catchphrase I use too much, soft eyes. And I think the catchphrase is stand behind me. And that's like whenever there's something that seems like it might be a problem, I just say, okay, stand behind me. And, you know, step in front of whoever to, like, probably even in situations where that's not the appropriate thing to do. But sad eyes.
I was going to check that. So are you therefore overprotective?
I think we'll find out.
Okay.
I think probably, like, to the extent that we are all too much of whatever it is that defines us, I think is what we're going to discover here. And evidence of my time in a war long forgotten, which I think is that just my comfort with personal violence. It's not like, you know, I don't have like a prosthetic limb or anything quite so, you know, like, you know, kind of cliche that indicates I used to be, but just the fact that I can, on a dime, like, am willing to just hurt people in a society where that is not the way that people normally come at stuff, is that evidence that I was actually in a, you know, an actual war. So,
is there anything else you want to tell us at the start that you want the other players or the audience to log in on? I look a little bit uncanny it is like, I look like I'm somewhere in my mid-30s, but for someone who's ostensibly been in all this combat and stuff like that, I'm remarkably free of like scarring or, you know, any visible battle wounds. And it is really kind of impossible to tell, to like nail down exactly what age I am in that uncanny kind of way. Like I've been touched up by CGI just when you're looking at me, you know, in person. Okay, thank you for that. Kim, tell us as much as you want to about Vera Albus. Oh, you are muted.
I'm sorry, I have no idea why that's not working for me today. I am the specialist. My name is Vera Albus. Albus is a family name that is much associated with the building of ships. I refuse to acknowledge why I have that name, whether or not I'm actually part of the family. The crew needs my expertise. This mission is an opportunity for glory and renown, but I don't want to have to choose between the crew and my desire to learn more, but I will. I'm haunted by my obsessions, but no one but the horrors know how scared I truly am. My power comes from my hard-earned wisdom. My demise comes from my morbid curiosity.
You say that these great minds associate with ships. Is there a direct connection to the Palantir? Or is that something that nobody knows yet?
Nobody knows yet.
Go ahead. Anything else that you want our audience to notice?
I have the nervous tick I have that I'm unaware of is just putting my hands in my pockets. And the eyes I keep hidden, I have sort of a heads up display. You can kind of see my face, but it's sort of obscured by text and or images.
Is that heads up display something that is kind of built into a helmet, or is it you know, some kind of portable screen? What do we see that when you talk about that?
I have some sort of implant like right here. I could turn it off, but I don't. Okay.
Presumably you can see perfectly through it, but it's like looking into a mirrored room, darkened mirrored room. Yeah, okay. If there's nothing else you want to tell us, I will move on to Max. Max, tell us about Stephen Ross.
Stephen Ross is the survivor. The crew won't believe the horrors I've seen. This mission won't go as they planned. I've already lost one crew to these horrors. I will not lose another. I'm haunted by my trauma, and no one but the horrors know how much I am like them. My power comes from my grit and desperation. My demise comes from despair and shattered hope. My name is one that I borrowed from a dead crewmate. I also carry.
Is that well known, or when you were, because you're a survivor of the Palantir, so when you escaped the Palantir, did you just take that ID?
Yeah, I had an idea. I was thinking it's one of those, like there's the last escape pod left, and there's 2 people. And I think I think he was probably my superior, and I end up with his dog tag, which is probably some kind of ID used to unlock the escape pod or something like that. So we might find him here, dead, or maybe he was walking around, who knows? But I got his dog tag and his name. And from my encounter with the Palantir before, I also took away a broken smile and a voice that's barely louder than a whisper. I shouldn't have been the one who survived. And the horror speaks to me in ways no one else can hear.
Oh, great.
Yep.
Now, what I'm imagining, I think, as our setup is that something awful has happened on board the Palantir, as our survivor, Stephen Ross, has told us. The details of what went terribly wrong remains to be seen, perhaps. And I guess that what I imagine is that as soon as whatever escape pod that Ross got out on is picked up, your mission is launched. Can I ask, do you think, any of you, that you have worked together before, or are you strangers brought together for this mission? Anyone got a strong view?
Well, as the outsider, I have not worked with you before.
What about Vera and the vet? Are you strangers until this mission?
I think the vet looks familiar, but I don't believe that I've served with them.
So one of my background bits is that I was created in a lab. And so the idea that as the specialist, Vera has probably read papers about me, or maybe even some bit of research she did went into whatever process created me. I like that idea. Are you cool with that, Kim?
So that issue of science that you contributed to, okay. And my assumption is that no one knows the survivor either, because the survivor, Stephen Ross, has literally was on the Palantir. That was his mission, and therefore is a stranger to you all. Or do you want to have known someone, Stephen?
I think it could be interesting if somebody knows me by my real name. If somebody wants that, but I'm okay with being also kind of an outsider, not knowing.
Well, what if we started with the point that from the audience's perception, you are a stranger? If someone decides to use a move or trigger that as a complication, then we'll work with that. Does that seem reasonable? Okay, so just for those of you again not familiar with this kind of system, the lure. Other people's lures are the way you earn tokens. By triggering that, you earn a token if you do stuff in the lure for other people. So that is to lure you into interacting with them. There are several kinds of moves down the bottom of the sheet. What I have learned from the Fallen is an outcome of a death move. If and when you die, then the death move, which is right at the bottom of the sheet, tells you what you do, and you can pass on some moves to a surviving member of the crew, not the survivor. Strong moves, you spend 3 tokens to activate any one of those. And I guess the obvious bit of math to do there is if you effectively use other people's lures, then you could build up enough to begin to have strong moves. The weak moves, you gain 1 token. So you can control when you want to express that. And then, as I've said, there's a death move, which talks about the details of what happens at the point when maybe you die. Is that as straightforward as I think it is? Or does someone have any questions about the way that this interacts to create a stock of tokens that you can then spend to use this on the strong moves? What I will say then is that if anybody does say, hang on, am I understanding this correctly? Please don't hesitate to ask that question if it means we have to step out of the fiction for a moment. Now, we are about an hour in, so now would seem like the perfect time to take our first break while you can cogitate on what horrors await you. It is just on the hour. Can I suggest that we take a reasonably long stretch at this first one, 10 minutes, back here at 10 past the hour? Okay, I'll see you then. Okay, we're back after our first break. And I've put in the chat just a reminder that our focus in this first act is on exploration questions, establishing key symbols, a chance to feel out characters, and maybe get to the Palantir and describe it. But I imagine that we open, because I am so obsessed with Alien, we open with your ship. What's your ship called? I'm trying to think I think probably it is the Specialist, who is the nearest thing we have to someone associated with the ship and those that provide it. So do you have a name for the ship you arrive on, Vera?
Not off the top of my head, but give me a second.
Not a problem. So the ship comes into view. It's in deep space. And I guess, let me ask the survivor the question. Subjectively, how much time has passed since you escaped from the Palantir? You know, is this Ripley's 30 odd years, or, you know, is it you got in and it zip?
I like it being relatively recent, maybe. Maybe they just basically picked up my escape pod, and I don't know if they were on their way there anyways, or if we diverted our course towards the Palantir. But
That's an interesting question. That's an interesting question. Now, the outsider, you seem to have specific focus for the Palantir. Does that speak to you just happening to be in the vicinity with Vera and the vet when you pick up the escape pod, or has this mission been put together specifically to get to the Palantir?
I think no, it's been put together specifically to get to the Palantir, and by whatever Weyland-Yutani is in this universe.
Okay, so the escape pod has returned to wherever civilization sits in this solar system, and this mission has been put together swiftly to get back to the Palantir. I'm curious, the vet, why do you think that you have been sent along? Because it's just a busted colony ship.
I think because it is just a busted colony ship. I think that it's because I'm going to play into the fact that we've got a bit of a connection here. Basically, I got sent to make sure Vera comes back because her research is important. Given the stuff that Ross was ranting about, I think certainly in my mind, and probably in the minds of the people that that assigned me to go along, there was some concern, certainly, that Ross may be responsible for what happened on the Palantir, And I'm almost certainly there keeping an eye on him as much as I am, making sure that Dr. Albus comes back in one piece.
And thank you. We now have a ship called the Cassiopeia. Okay. Again, because I can't escape the alien tropes, what do we see as the hyperspace hypersleep pods crack open and the four of you spill out? What is the first thing that we see Stephen Ross doing?
I don't think they get up, and I don't think you see him get up excitedly, like, yeah, finally I'm getting out of this hypersleep chamber. He's probably like dreading to have to face what is about to happen when we get closer to the Palantir. So I don't think he is, he probably looks for something to occupy himself, but is gonna keep checking how close they are. Either by looking at some readouts or, yeah.
What about Vera? What's the first we see of Vera as she comes out of hypersleep?
You see her turn her heads up display on and then sort of just stare into space as though she's reading things.
I think we're going to see a lot of that. What about the vet?
I actually don't go to sleep. I take it, I'm just there for the long haul. I'm awake the whole time.
So you go the long way round. Okay.
Yeah. And I look exactly the same, we launch however many years it takes to do that, or whatever. It's probably not years, whatever, weeks or something like that. And everybody wakes up and I look exactly the same as when.
Of course you do.
Yeah.
Of course you do. My purpose this evening is really just to shift the spotlight. So I'm going to come to our outsider. Now I'm curious, outsider, how do you introduce yourself to the crew when you first met them before taking off? Because the Count Karl von Krausenstein, is it?
Yeah.
Is that how they are introduced to you?
Yes, my name is Count Karl von Krausenstein, but I am content if you call me the Count. That will suffice. Totally.
So what do we see of the Count then?
I assume he's also in one of these cryopods, and he gets out a bit like Max Schreck in Nosferatu, like this, and he's just standing there. He walks in a slightly robotic way over to counter, gets an injection gun and injects himself something, and then he moves his neck and okay, I'm fully functional. We can get started now, immediately.
Look, Mr. von Krausenstein, there's a thing that we're going to need to get clear just right up front, all right? And that's that just because on your homeworld, you're royalty, on this ship, you're just one of us. I know that you are used to people kowtowing to you, but that is not going to happen here. So all of that stuff that you expect back home in your palaces with your indentured servants, just disabuse yourself of any of those notions.
Say no more. It is good that you bring this up. I am one of you. I am the best of you. Don't forget that.
So this is where, as a player, I'm since von Krausenstein, when someone tells him why they are suspicious of him and who he represents, they get a token. Can I take a token for that? Cool.
Yeah, if you are aiming for a token, and I don't say I think that's a token, please do that. Just highlight that you've earned one. And so I will then ask the Count, were you pitching at somebody's lure there?
No, not actively. I still have to get used to all the lures, but I'm getting there slowly now. No, not in this scene.
So I think that Vera, you headed off. You've got your heads up. Stephen, you go to the bridge to check distance, and there on the screen is a little beep, 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 labeled Palantir.
Well, who's in charge is not going to matter in a couple of hours anyways. And I think he just... don't think he actively prepares himself for anything. He looks he doesn't look too happy. It's not what he imagined to get back to.
Does anyone see you looking this nervous?
I think they have seen me nervous from the moment. Like there was, when they picked me up, there was probably like a brief moment of, oh, I'm safe, I'm good to go. And when they told him that they were heading to the Palantir, it's just been terror and nervousness the whole way here, basically. So yeah, I think that is a constant thing happening with Steven.
So I'm now seeing some kind of scene around a briefing table, or eating or drinking coffee. What kind of interactions do we see around that table?
I would like to turn to Stephen Ross and tell you that I can see in your eyes, you have the eyes of a man looking at a beautiful forest, and the forest is on fire. It is burning, and you haven't told us yet why it is burning.
We are not prepared for this. We should head back right away. There's no point in even discussing this. There's no way we will survive entering the Palantir. It's a miracle that I came back. That is what I know.
I mean, you managed to survive untrained.
I did, but I didn't go unscathed.
I'm sure you didn't, but what we need to determine is whether you went unscathed from what happened to you, or maybe what you did. It's awfully suspicious that you're the only survivor, and we need to get to the bottom of that.
Well, it's only suspicious because you don't know what is on that ship.
Well, there's only one way.
It may be suspicious, but he has valuable information. I, for one, believe that the company would like us to find his information before we approach.
Yes, Frau Albus, I cannot agree more with you. So share your information, Herr Ross.
People are not who they seem they are on that station. People showing up. One moment they lie on the floor dead, the next moment they are walking up again. You can't trust anybody. You can't trust me, you can't trust him, you can't trust her. It's gonna tear us apart. We should head back right away. I don't know why we're still on this course.
People, dead one moment, walking the next. Are you saying you have witnessed eternal life, Herr Ross?
I don't know what I've witnessed. That's a question for Ms. Albus here, the scientist. I just know going there, there's no returning. Not the way you went in, if at all.
Are you sure your perceptions were accurate? It sounds like you might have been experiencing something internal rather than external.
Well, you will see. We're about there. When we enter, you will see that it's not all internal. It is both. You have this gnawing in your head, like fingernails on this chalkboard, like a thorn under your fingernail. It's you will see. It's not describable. You will see. You will witness it. Or we head back now, which is what I recommend. Otherwise, we will not return.
No, we're not going to turn back, and we need a guide to what happened there. If you're really serious about this being a problem, we're going to deal with it and make sure that it doesn't hurt anyone else. And you can help us do that.
You can't protect us. You are you pretend to be the protector of us. You seem to be. Your name tells us what your profession is, I suppose. But there's no protecting anybody from this.
Well, we'll see about that. They haven't met me yet.
So, Frau Albus, you know things. I take it that you know a little bit about our destination. What exactly do you know? You are the specialist after all, aren't you?
I think it's best that we go in with, why is this still telling me I'm muted? Am I muted?
Nope, we can hear you.
Okay. I believe it's best that we go in with an open mind. We can't trust what Stephen is saying, not because Stephen is intrinsically untrustworthy, we don't know him, but you have to admit whatever he's saying sounds a little far-fetched. We are going to attempt to reacquire the cargo and return it to its planet of origin.
There's people on board and they need to, and they may have slept through this, but we can't just abandon them. We need to get them to their new home.
Why should we abandon them? They have eternal life now, veteran.
I don't know what this eternal life thing that you keep talking about is, what this strange obsession you have is. This is not eternal life. Being stuck in a cryo bed with your life on pause, that's not actually life.
And that is not what I'm talking about. Didn't you listen to Herr Ross? He told us people are dead and the next moment they are walking again. That I call eternal life. Have a little faith.
All right, we'll see what happens when we get there.
Yes.
And then
Like I feel like that's a scene.
I think then there's the AI says Palantir course correction complete, docking imminent. Let me ask Stephen Ross, describe something about the Palantir as the screens on the bridge begin to show the ship. Tell us something about it.
It is more of a space station than a spaceship, right?
Okay.
More of a question. I don't know.
It's entirely up to you. I mean, it is clearly capable of transporting a lot of people to a colony. That's all we know about it.
Right. Good point. Yes. I think with this class of ship, you're usually able to see the escape pods from the outside. You see those little round pods on the side, and you can tell that there's probably like 2 or 3 left out of probably 100 or something.
Okay, so we're seeing these gaping holes where the escape pods were. Vera, tell us something else about the Palantir as its externals.
It's completely shut down. Like anything that you would expect to see indicating a functioning spaceship it's not obviously shut down, it's just not obviously showing any activity.
And are you getting that from your instruments, or is there something we would normally be seeing? Maybe we see it on the outside of the Cassiopeia that we're not seeing on the outside. I don't know, some flashing lights or whatever. What are we not seeing?
Traditionally, there's sort of a blue glow towards what would be the back of a spaceship, and it's not just propulsion; it's also what keeps everything going.
Okay, Vet, tell us something that you find threatening.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There is a like if it's kind of like a space station, we're not like if it's designed for interstellar travel, right? we're not concerned about aerodynamics or anything like that. And it can have flanges coming off the side and things like that. So I think there's like, you know, I imagine something that looks a little bit, you know, like it comes out and there's like branches that go off to the side and stuff like this with pods. And one of those is just like busted off and gone, like halfway up the ship. And there's just like, you know, kind of as we put our running lights, whatever, you know, our spotlight over it, there's this like, you know, like flashes of light that indicate that all of the colonists that were asleep in that section have just kind of been blown out into space. And they're just sort of trailed along, all frozen in vacuum, like dozens and dozens of them.
Thank you. And finally, the Count. What do you find exciting about what you see?
Exciting. That's a very good question.
Or what excites you?
The closer we get, we start picking up strange radio signals. There's very little to make out of that, but there is one voice on repeat telling over and over again something like, it sounds like they're after us, and then it cuts short, and the same voice a minute later in a very quiet, relaxed tone, all is good now, all is peace.
Well, that's a little freaky. I'm imagining now that we've seen the external, the Palantir. I think it's time to get aboard. The vet, I think this is your bailiwick. How are you going to get people aboard?
It's got, you know, we've got a like a docking umbilical, right? We can just go up to an airlock and we, you know, like a little tunnel extends, and we, you know, I kind of very deftly, like I've done this up, you know, 100 times before, match our, you know, attitude and rotation and all that kind of stuff and everything with the Palantir, which is just kind of, I think, you know, in the film, it would just be kind of slowly, you know, sort of spinning in place, you know, not, you know, relative motion against the distant stars notwithstanding and stuff. But, and I think we go down, that umbilical connects, I press a few buttons, and that light blue glow comes on the Palantir as we feed power into it to make sure that there's going to be, you know, and I run some reports and make sure there's life support, and that, you know, that chunk of the ship that got blown out is sealed by a bulkhead and all that kind of stuff. And I, you know, like it, like there's atmosphere, the temperature is okay. I advise everybody that we should go in there, you know, with some vacuum protection just to make sure. But we don't need full, I don't think we need full suits, full like exosuits. We just need something that, you know, whatever, like we snap the ring around our collar so that if we lose pressure and, you know, pressure and atmosphere, we can tap it and it'll keep us, you know, protected for, you know, for however long we need to.
Kind of survival suits if something awful happens.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So who's going to board first?
No, well, I say step behind me. And I go down and you know, and pop the lid. And, you know, I've got a and I think we're all mic'd so we can talk to each other in different parts of the ship. You know, and I just, you know, and whatever little headset I've got on here, I just tap it, and the, you know, the light beams out, and I can kind of look around and get down there. I tap a panel, the lights come out in the whatever, in the airlock or whatever. Like I think we'd start in an airlock and then go out into that, but I'm just going down first and making sure, everything is like that it's breathable and all that. And as soon as I confirm that, I wave the people down behind me.
What's on the other side of the airlock, Stephen?
I think it's pristine. I think it's surprisingly pristine. Like there's nothing broken, no fire, no alarms going off. I don't think there's bodies on the floor, blood on the wall or anything. I think it's just a regular old corridor that doesn't have any, in a way that is maybe more scary in the moment than it being blood soaked. Like something, this isn't right. It's too clean.
I will just say, if you're activating one of your strong or weak moves, just flag it up to us. Where to next, Vera? Because you are the specialist. You're the closest we have to the company person, I suppose.
Dr. Albus, what would be, Dr. Albus, where's the place you want to begin your investigation from?
I think the hub. I think that this is around a central point, and I would like to go to the central point. This is not what you led me to believe, Stephen. Can you tell me more about what this was like when you left it?
Not like this. Just give it a couple minutes.
And I'm walking as I'm having this conversation.
And I think I've got that thing where I'm about half a dozen paces out in front and I'm just walking along, and I kind of like the idea that this is the thing where like lights come on, as we walk into an area, they come on and they shut off as we leave it and stuff. So.
I'm curious, does the outsider go with everybody else, or does the outsider have plans of his own?
Not yet. The vet can feel me in his neck all the time. So as you are stepping ahead, I'm closely following you wherever you go. Uncannily so, maybe. So you think that your weapons will help you here? Those tiny little weapons.
And I just go like this. I'm not actually I think I don't actually have a sidearm, because you know what? I almost certainly have like a something that's basically like a taser, right? And maybe a pistol that is like a flechette pistol. That is not something that like it can, so it fires like micro, like it's like a needle pistol, so it can shred flesh, but if it hits any kind of armor or even like a bulkhead, or a window, it's just gonna, and it's not gonna do anything.
I have
so it's
sudden,
like specifically designed for fighting, in pressurized atmosphere like this.
I have a sudden urge for a flashback, which is the Count observing the vet at weapons practice. And I think this might be an opportunity to firm up what connects the pair of you.
Okay. Is there anything mechanically that we need to keep in mind?
Not really. So what connects us? Choose one to ask. So I'm setting you up to ask the vet, Count.
Okay. So I basically choose one of my two questions from the drop down.
Yeah.
Very good. So the bat is practicing with his weapons. I'm standing close to him, and let me think. And at some point, so you have a needle gun, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're practicing with? Okay, then there is at one point a ricochet, and it hits me in the shoulder, and I do not bleed. I do not bleed at all, even though you hit me at a part of my body where, you know, a lot of blood would be coming out. And I don't like. Oh,
I'm going to X card that.
Yeah.
Because that presumes some incompetence on my part that I don't think is warranted.
All right.
That I would not be.
Yes.
Absolutely. I have access to classified documents that might tell me something about you or your family, you know, because of my military connections.
Mm-hmm. I have a way to I think to get round the X card here. If I
sure.
can just replay a bit and suggest a way forward.
Yeah.
It is that the Count goes and picks up one of these little flechettes. And as he's playing with it,
yeah, no. Like if I've got some of them laid out, and he goes to just, you know, because they're like bricks that you slot in, and then the gun kind of like shaves off these micro things as you do. Like, you shouldn't pick one of those up barehanded because it'll just shred your hand, right? So yeah, and you go to, and when you go to do that, I'm like,
is it that is it that no blood comes out or something else comes out?
Well, I say, Count von Krausenstein, you shouldn't.
That did not hurt me at all. So you don't have to worry at all. I am fine, I guarantee you. And nothing comes out, no blood, but this, how alien-like do we want to go? Is it some kind of milky white substance, maybe? Maybe a little, yes. Yeah.
Your character, brother, totally up to you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so some sort of milk white substance drops out. You do not need to worry about this.
So the vet knows the Count's darkest secret. Why have you not told anybody else, Vet?
I think because as soon as I tell everybody else, I have no leverage over him.
Fine.
Carrying around in my back pocket the threat to tell everybody else what's going on gives me leverage over him.
And do you want to use this opportunity to establish what connects you from your side, Vet?
Nope. No.
Okay. Then Vera, you're following with what feels like a slightly reluctant Stephen. Would you, Vera, like to establish what connects you to Stephen and how we see that? Flashback, happening in the present, take your pick.
I think flashback, something much closer to when, let's say when we picked him up, for whatever reason, I was awoken or already awake and was interrogating him. But like trying to be...
I think we established that he's returned to wherever you were based, and this mission has been set up in order to go back and investigate it. Right. So go with that as a basis.
So we picked him up. He's in some sort of med bay, and I'm asking him like basic questions about, when do you think it is? Like, what happened? And I want to know how I earned his begrudging respect.
I think he probably expected to be asked questions. It just makes sense. I don't know. How do you pose these questions? Is it like a full-on interrogation? You're more of a scientist, right, than, let's say, a detective, or are they more based around? Do the questions sound like you're blaming me, or
No, I'm just
thinking,
trying to extract information.
okay. Then I think it's just because you seem genuinely interested in what I have to say, if that works for you. It's like, I feel like a scientist would be an active listener, like somebody who, yeah, I'm listening to what you actually have to say. I'm not trying to get to a specific agenda. I'm just trying to gather the information here. So I think that makes, would be something that Stephen would respect in that moment.
Stephen,
And I think it makes sense if you don't trust me because I'm a company man, but you appreciate my methods, if not my employer.
Stephen, do you want to use that flashback as an opportunity to establish a connection with Vera?
Could be. Like, my options are, you're one of the few people who believe me, who I want anyone else see the truth. I don't know if that would work for Vera, because it's kind of outlandish what I have to say, and you're a scientist, so we might be more skeptic of that. So I don't know if that makes sense for your character.
I mean, we've kind of already established that the Count really does seem to believe in you.
I think that I have a sort of science will explain everything eventually. So I don't think that you know what was going on, but I believe that that is what you perceived.
Yeah, but I think Jim makes a good point, though. The Count was kind of already going for that before. So I think that would make sense as a connection. So I don't think we have the connection here. Yeah.
Okay, then, because we already know about that from what we've discovered already. So the connection with the Count is that, bizarrely, he does believe you.
If that makes sense for you, Ike. Sorry.
Jim, you're left with the person without a particular connection. Do you want to set up or flashback or refer back to one?
I think that, let me see. Kim, which do you like better? I've got two options there. I've got the, I failed to protect you when it mattered most. Why have you forgiven me? And I declared my love for you, but you rejected me. Why am I grateful to you? Which of those two is more interesting to you to connect our super soldier and the scientist here? I like both of them, so.
Oh, you are muted, I think, Kim.
Yeah, she's got it.
Right now, my screen is telling me that I'm always muted for some reason. So I apologize. I like both of them too. I'm trying to think of a situation in which you would have protected me.
Let's go. Let's drop a surely utterly doomed romance plot into this then, if you are good with that. So I declared my love for you, but you rejected me. Why am I grateful to you? And I wonder if this might have something to do with the fact that I'm that I was created in a lab. Whether some defect that got revealed during the war, you helped fix that so that I didn't have to get, like, you know, decommissioned or something like that. And I have that, like, fell in love with my nurse kind of thing going on. That may be real, that may just be displacement, that may. Does that work for you?
Yeah. I think that I rejected you in some way that indicated, like, my concern is for your well-being, and I was afraid that you would become less good at the things that you think you are good at. because of this romantic connection.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Okay.
like that. Okay.
Now I feel that we are kind of we've hit most of the bits and pieces in Act 1 in terms of you know, exploring, settling in, establishing the characters. So I think we're edging towards the story beat, an omen, a sense of foreboding. I'm happy for anyone to set that up.
I mean, I think we got to reach the hub, right?
I think at some point there's something wrong with my tech. Like if we've got aliens whispering to us or somehow affecting us, it's going to start affecting what I'm seeing, possibly also what I'm hearing.
So what do we, as you approach the hub, how do, because I guess we will then shift to your point of view, Vera. We've done that occasionally to see this flashy display. What do we see? What omen comes up among all this kind of data?
So I think it starts with like, I'm a little trying to see things out of the corner of my eye. Like I keep thinking that I see something moving and there's nothing moving. I suspect the vet picks up on this, but I suspect no one else does. I think I'm hearing whispers, like not things that I can turn into words, just sounds that are obviously not coming from the surrounding.
Could they be variations of "they're after us" or "all is good now"?
I think I'm picking up like one or two of those words in amongst the, like not the whole sentence, but good or after.
They.
Yep.
Okay.
And if you can spin that as the horror tempting you, you can take a token for that too, because that's one of your weak moves. Or introduce a dangerous anomaly or complication. Yeah.
I think I stop and I try to listen. Like I want to figure out what they're saying, and that takes all of my concentration, and maybe more words or different words become clearer the longer I listen. Like the cinematic I'm imagining is that more things are being said, possibly overlapping voices.
I think that sounds like introduce a dangerous anomaly or complication, because if you now can't believe your data, do you share that? Is that something others are beginning to pick up? That kind of...
I think the vet picks it up. I'm not sure that the Count or Stephen are like, Stephen's obviously not looking any one place for too long. Yes, that.
Okay, I think that hits an omen, a sense of foreboding. One of us is chosen by the Palantir. They are gifted something strange and terrible. Now, I think I shall offer this up to Stephen and the Count, because the vet and Vera got a bit of interaction there around how this story beat was hit. So Stephen or the Count, is one of you chosen, or do you want to identify someone who is chosen?
It is so obvious that the Count wants it desperately. He wants to be chosen. So it's probably best if he isn't.
Stephen?
Yeah, that works for me. I was kind of already chosen. I got like a ability from the horror last time I was here, so that could work as well, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what do we see that tells us all that you have been chosen?
I don't think the group sees. I think...
So this is also an opportunity for you to say, how do I horrify you? And get a token and let us say what terrible thing happens.
Could be. But I think I got a good idea of what I already have here. I think where we're walking past right now, there's a lot of glass. Maybe there used to be displays, like maybe these are just large glass panes that could be used as displays if they are enabled. And I think in the reflection, I'm just kind of looking through, it's kind of a little dark here. And in the reflection, I kind of see myself. And when I turn away, I see the reflection walking the other way. And I think the camera sees this, not myself, or not the group in general, but it's not just a reflection walking away, it's somebody behind the pane of glass walking away that looks exactly like me.
Okay, I think that's activated one of your weak moves, so gain a token. We are at 5:02 at the hour. I'm going to suggest that we take a 5-minute break now. I'll pause the recording. Okay, so we're back for the start of Act 2, when, as I said, we should be focusing on mounting terror, false leads, the horror fully revealed, looking to create peril for your characters. Describe how the Palantir shows a dark reflection to each one of you. I'm thinking, we just made a start, Jim. So I'm thinking that this might be an opportunity. Now you're in the hub, and I probably see you working in the hub. You're all kind of working at different parts of it. Maybe you're trying to get systems online, trying to check on the health or well-being of the colonists who are in a different part of the ship. And I'm just curious, because each of you has an opportunity here to activate a weak move called Say How the Horror Embodies What Haunts You. And that would neatly hit one of the beats here, which is describe how the Palantir shows a dark reflection of each one. So I think I'm going to start with Dr. Albus, because she's the person who's picked up on, this strange stuff that's beginning to happen. So how does the horror embodies what haunts you? So what does haunt you? And what do we, the audience, see that reveals that? Oh, you are muted.
One of the things that haunts me is that I killed someone dear in a fit of passion. And I think that I'm starting to hear voices, like straight up, people are talking to me that I can't see. No one else can see, no one else can hear.
Do you think they're coming through your comms, or do we see you deactivate that? And what is?
I definitely turn things on, turn them off, turn them back on again. Maybe some percussive maintenance, but they're definitely not coming through anything that I can turn off.
What about Stephen? What haunts you, and how does the Palantir reveal that?
I have two things that haunt me. I shouldn't have been the one who survived, and the horror speaks to me in ways no one else can hear. I kind of described that before, like it's also going kind of in that direction, like an internal screeching, like fingers on a chalkboard, that kind of thing. But I think it might also be what I just said about the reflection. Maybe I see it out of the corner of my eye moving in the different direction. Maybe I follow it. And it's, maybe to me, the horror is more acting in, I think, maybe the reflection has bloody hands, like the kind of bloody hands you would have when you just killed somebody that I don't have anymore. But I might have had in the past. Okay.
What about the vet? What haunts you, and how does the Palantir reveal that?
I think that as I am going through the personnel records of the crew that's supposed to be on this thing that we haven't come across yet, I see a name that is someone of like the guy that's let's say the woman that's there ostensibly in charge of security for their ship. is a veteran like me, is someone that I fought with in the war. Wars, whatever, you know. I see that name and maybe there's a little flashback to, you know, someone saying to me, this is going to get rough, stand behind me.
Yeah, like that. And finally, Count.
Count is
The horror you wish to be. What is the haunting you wish to reveal?
The Count is busy checking his comms, using his whatever machinery he has attached to his body to read the signals, when suddenly he hears a voice calling him, Carl, come over here. And he follows through corridors, never split up the party, but he's not thinking straight because he knows that voice. And then he comes after he's been wandering around these corridors. He lost his way. He's been wandering around for minutes now. And he comes into a room, some kind of medical room. And on the table, there is a dead body. And he walks over and he says, Konrad, is that you? And he presses his lips to the lips of that dead body, which then opens its eyes and says, you have killed me and betrayed me, you and your ambition. And then maybe if you are close enough or want to be close enough, you can hear the Count scream for minutes.
Just so I'm clear, is that in his head? Or is that actually, aha, okay. Well, I think we might be getting close actually quite quickly to that story beat about the crew is torn apart. What is the reaction in the hub to this screaming?
I'm
Look
listening
around.
to something else, and like nothing in reality am I hearing at the moment.
So I take a glance around and the Count is gone. He's not there. I say, God damn it, von Krausenstein. And Ross, where the hell did he go?
I think if you look around, you see Ross just going around a corner, not answering.
Son of a bitch. Doc, I gotta figure out what's and I look at Dr. Albus, and I know I'm supposed to protect her, but Dr. Albus, how do I abandon you?
I think you tell me to stay put and believe that I've heard you and agreed for some reason when I haven't, and you take off.
I'll let you decide. Do I go after Ross, or do I go to where I hear the screaming from von Krausenstein?
I think you know Ross is more important to me.
Yeah,
so you
okay.
go after Ross.
I go after Ross. There we go. All right.
And all throughout this, Dr. Albus, it's entirely, you're just out of it.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if the ship has given the vet the impression that I responded to his words, but that's kind of the direction I'm headed in.
Okay, Stephen, what do we see? You've disappeared around the corner. What do we see? Where are you going? What do we see you doing?
I think we can do like a, I think we can have the moment when the vet sees Stephen coming out of a room, and Stephen comes out with a somewhat of a broken smile, like nothing is, like the face somebody would put on to seem like everything is fine, even if it's not. And I don't know, Jim, if you would pick up on that, or if you would just basically collect me and then head back.
Oh, like if I see you coming out of somewhere, I'm like, I say, Ross, what did I tell you about going off on your own? And I just walk up to you and I like grab you around the arm. And I picture myself probably I'm a big dude, right? Like, you know, I used Idris Elba for my character portrait there. And so picture, you know, they were like 6'4", broad-shouldered, big, strong guy. So I would just like grab you by the arm and say, let's just see what you're up to, and kind of drag you back into the room with me there.
Yeah, I think then we can kind of flash back to what happened before we met again. And I think it was Stephen walking into the room, seeing again one of those displays. And there's another Stephen there just leaning against the glass. And he's kind of stops for a moment. And then we just see hands around his neck, break his neck. And when his body falls behind him, there's another Stephen standing there. So I think Stephen dies here. I'm doing the death move. My gift from the horror was that I can unwillingly multiply myself. So enjoy that. How does this death move thing work? Should we do that now, Alan, or do we want to do the scene of the vet entering the room?
I think we want to do the vet. I just want to check, Dr. Albus, whether you're doing anything else apart from just looking blankly around the hub.
I was intending to die as soon as I got out of everyone's sight.
Oh, everyone can, you know, you can die. We can have multiple deaths, not a problem. I'll just hold that on the shelf. So we've got the Count screaming, and just describe to us, Max, what then does the vet see when he comes into the room with Stephen?
I think he sees another body on the floor, and I think it depends if he wants to inspect it. Kind of depends how the whole like the Palantir parts kind of thing work.
So here's what I'm gonna say. I've got enough tokens that you can throw like some kind of like bananas video game space horror bullshit at me and I can handle it. So, you know, go out with a bang, man. That's what I'd say.
Well, Stephen is dead. One of them came out of the room, so there's at least one left in there.
So I mean, like it seems to me that like if I've got you by the arm and I drag you in, and then we're both looking down at Stephen's dead body, like what do I see when I then look back at the person that I'm holding, who I now realize isn't actually Stephen?
Well, I think the first thing you see is like Stephen had a name tag, like the standard like uniform, and actually had the name Stephen Ross. And I think on this uniform you see the name Reese May. Don't know if you care about that in that moment, but I think what you noticed before also, he is stronger than he should be for his size and demeanor. Kind of, you would expect him to be physically weaker. So I think it's just a blank stare and then forcing your hand off his shoulder. And yeah, I think just restraining you for now. What do you do with that?
What does the vet do?
You like so you're just like super like kind of preternaturally strong, right? You're just sort of pull me off and everything. Okay. And I say right to your face, well, there's the other shoe, isn't it? I like utter a phrase that sounds like you know, like a recording that's like sped up and run backwards, you know, like that. I say something like that. And if we're watching the movie, you know, you're pressing me back and like leaning in, and like I say that and you stop. And like whatever else is going on in the room, you know, maybe there's like an air vent that has like some little trailers on it to indicate that the air is flowing. They're just completely stopped and everything. and you know, you've got my arm held, and I just reach up and like I'm plucking your fingers off of my arm and like pulling your thumb off, and you're not completely frozen. You're moving very slowly. So I can see your eyes we can see your eyes just starting to widen in shock as I'm able to do this. And I like pluck that, you know, thing off of I pluck your hand off. And what room are we in right now?
I think it's just maybe quarters, like the kind of quarters you would stay in, not when you're in the pod, but when you're, yeah, I think it's just a room with a bed, and maybe it's actually Stephen Ross's room. Maybe it says so on the door. Yeah. Okay.
And I pluck that arm off, and I just take you and I just like grab your shirt front like this, and I just start punching you in the face. And I do it like 24 times, and just, you know, like we see it from behind, and it's just, I'm, and there's whatever, you know, like we presume this is like an awful, messy business. And I'm going to spend 3 tokens to destroy a horror with my own strength.
I think it would be really interesting if you told, because is this a human body you're destroying, or in destroying it, do you reveal a horror?
I think I absolutely would reveal a horror here.
What does it look like?
I think that, like, you know what? I think there's that first initial blow, and it like mashes in like I hit like I hit clay, right? Or like it's like hitting like punching a storm mannequin in the face, and so it it doesn't break and get bloody the way that you know, that a regular thing should, and the pounding on it is just like smashing the substance of it in until it's just kind of all sort of collapsed in on itself. But it's very clearly some sort of like protean thing, and the harder I hit it, I think maybe this like the features are like shifting, and like maybe even like we see flickers of a couple of other faces as I'm pounding on it, you know, and that last one, I think my fist just goes right through it and just kind of like around it, and I sort of messily pull it out, you know, and I'm huffing and puffing, and I utter a similar phrase, and the thing collapses down, but I'm like, you know, like I collapse down onto the bed, sweating, exhausted, but I think that I'm gonna do a weak move, which is leave enough of the horror to regenerate.
And I think that probably we'll deal with the death move in a moment. We flash back at that point to you coming back to Dr. Albus. Dr. Albus, what do we find?
My headset.
And nothing else?
Nothing else.
Wow.
And like, I think I'm gonna lean into the sort of retro future space, and so there's like a terminal that I have a keyboard that I've typed, and I'm trying to figure out what message to leave to the veteran. Like, I think I figured something out like right before I died about how to kill them or get away, or a weakness. I think I'm going to say electricity. Like, somehow I figured out that whatever's going on here, you can kill with electricity. I've I think I've typed it out. I was going to draw it in my own blood, but I think I've typed it out.
So I die off. So just to sum up then, Stephen Ross, I die off screen. Perhaps I will mysteriously return in one form or another. My gift from the horror transfers to someone else. So the vet now has, and there's a slot on your character sheet for this, for the gift, the capacity to multiply oneself, unwillingly multiply myself. Yeah.
Very important part.
Yeah, yeah. And in terms of Dr. Albus, there's a drop down there for the death move. Which one are you choosing?
Let me. I die off screen. Perhaps I will mysteriously return in one form or another. My ambition has complicated the situation to dire consequence.
Fine. Select that one. And then choose one of your strong moves and give it to another player. Either, doesn't have to be the vet.
Okay. I think I like the doomed romance angle enough that I'm going to give the vet the opportunity to destroy a horror with my own knowledge.
And that's where the electricity sits. Yeah. Okay. So I think technically Stephen died first. So Stephen, do you want to become the heart, the teeth, the flesh, or the blood of the Palantir?
Oh, I muted.
Sorry, no, it's not Stephen, it's Max.
Yes.
Or is it Stephen?
Who knows? I mean, might be Reese as well. What is the difference here?
Ellen, perhaps you want to screen share that so anyone who watches the video can see the options.
That's a good idea.
I think the flesh makes sense here.
Okay, so
I am ancient and noble. I feed on human flesh and bone. I have slept for a long time, dreaming of tenderness and pain. But the small and pitiful creatures have awakened me, transforming me through their sin, hubris, and weakness. I am the flesh of the Palantir. Caress and envelop me.
the Palantir can now twist and reshape the horrors and the crew itself. Kim, now that Vera is dead, heart, teeth, or blood?
Heart.
Fine. The Palantir can now feed upon what haunts the crew to create illusions or tangible nightmares. Great. So I think we've hit all the story beats. I think that we are now in Act 3. The pace of our story is accelerating rapidly. Sorry.
Max has got to decide which of his strong moves he's going to gift one of the, he's going to give to one of the other players. Yeah.
True.
I think I am passing on describe how the horror stays frozen or inactive. And I think I passed this on to the Count in the past because he seemed to believe me most. And I think I told him that that if glass is shattered, they are these copies, these reanimated people that were dead before, that they are frozen or inactive, like the move says. They cannot act for a moment.
So my job is pretty much done now. The vet and the Count come back together. The crew comes together with some clues of how to stop this. We have two aspects of the Palantir. If you read your play sheet, you can see that you now have ways to force them into situations. So I'm going to go straight back to the hub where a shaken Count and a shaken veteran are reunited and ask, what do you do now?
You see the Count, you see that he's been crying. There's some white milk spilled all over his face. and he's shaking all over his body, and then he says to you, you're also there, right, Vet?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I come walking in and I'm like, von Krausenstein, where did you go? Wait a minute. Where's the doctor?
And where is Herr Ross?
Ross was done. And I walk up to him and I just like, I get right in your face and I say, fucking Ross was never with us. He was one of those things that are on this ship.
He knew things, and we needed his superior knowledge. What have you done to him?
I didn't do anything to him. Whatever these fucking things are on the ship, they killed him a long time ago. Whatever came back wasn't Ross.
And how do I know that you are still you?
And I punch him in the face.
I'm gonna say that
like I punch you in the like I just bop you in the nose and like wipe a finger under the like white goop that comes out under your under your nose. Silicon, just like I thought.
Yeah, I don't even blink when you punch me. Like, it's as if I don't feel anything.
Yeah.
Palantir, feel free to interrupt and ask some of those questions you can ask of characters.
Before you do, I want to use one of my. Let me see. I want to use one of my strong moves here. And I'm still hearing these voices of my beloved Conrad, who's dead because of me, and it's always in the back of my head. And then I go all Shakespeare on you, Vet, and what I do is I sort of grab into my own body and get some metal, shiny little thing out of it, and then I go like, if you prick us, do we not bleed? And if you tickle us, do we not laugh? And if you poison us, do we not die? And if you wrong us, shall we not revenge? And then I smash it to pieces. And it is a bit like Doctor Who, the Cyberman module, which dampens emotions. In this case, it sort of gives me emotions, or sort of emulates emotions. And then my eyes go all dead. And I don't hear the voice of my beloved any longer because I have lost that connection forever. I can't feel a thing now. I'm just dead inside, which
So
makes me...
Describe how the horror weakens.
The horror weakens, no, sorry, not the horror weakens, but describe why the horror's corruption fades. That's the strong move. Maybe I've meant the wrong one before. So for now, the horror cannot get into my head, at least not using my emotions against me, because I don't have any longer.
Look, Ross is not a factor anymore. He never was, but we've got to find the doctor. We need to. She is the one that is going to help us get out of this, and we need to make sure that she gets home safely. So, look, we need to split up. We'll cover more ground that way, but just... she's not showing up on any of the instruments, and I think that and I say, look, you go fore, I'll go aft, and as soon as we find her, we got to get the fuck out of here. Do you understand?
I have one more thing to do before we leave this station, and I need you to protect me while I'm doing it.
Fuck whatever you need to do. We can do it after we find the doctor. And this is how, and I just go storming off. And I think this is how the horror has separated us, is by taking like, if you're just there dead, that would be one thing. But the fact that she's missing means I got to go find her. And so I just bail.
Flesh.
I was about to ask something, yes. That when you storm off after your encounter with the Rosses, what are you afraid your body will become?
what am I afraid my body will become? That's interesting.
I can ask something else if you don't have
No,
something.
just give me a second. I think that I'm afraid I'll get stuck here and I won't be able to die. Like that, I think that essentially my body will become my prison.
And the way this moves then is that from the answers given, build upon it and then choose a move, Max.
Do you need to do that immediately, or can you kind of build?
I'm going to suggest you need to do that immediately, because if Jim takes the move, then he gains a token.
Trap the crew in bodies or forms they do not recognize.
Given that he's just said he doesn't want to be trapped here.
And I'll also call back to the fact that someone I knew when I was in the war we've established they're a crew member on the ship, or were a crew member.
But yeah, are you accepting that move, Jim? Or
sorry, what is the move?
Trap the crew in bodies or forms they do not recognize. I'm not entirely sure how this works. Maybe you know, Alan.
So, for instance, we've just heard that the vet is scared shitless of staying here. So maybe his consciousness becomes embodied in the electronics of the Palantir.
Oh, you know what? Here's a thing that could work. From the survivor, I got the capacity to unwillingly multiply myself. And if like, as I'm walking down the hall, like, because I'm searching the ship, so like we see me walking down the hall, and then like I turn left, and then there's kind of like and I keep walking, but there's one of me looking to the left, and then I turn right, and I am suddenly confused about who I am. Like which of these multiple things is really me and not. And I have like, it's like messing with my perception and stuff like that. Does that sound like it fits the bill?
Which one's going to get off the ship? No. Okay. I think that's a neat complication. So we now have at least 3 versions of the vet wandering around the place. You get a token.
Yeah, and I'm not sure which one I am. Like it's like all this input is coming at me at the same time. It's freaking me out.
It would now seem reasonable to ask the heart. What does the heart of the Palantir do at this stage in our tale?
Do any of my moves work on a synthetic that no longer has the ability to feel emotion? That's a sort of question at large.
They do if your move says so.
Okay. I want to know what brings the Count the most guilt or shame.
A couple of minutes ago, the Count would have answered that the fact that he killed his lover just because of his ambition, that would have brought him shame. But now he doesn't feel any longer. So what brings him shame is failing in his mission, in his secret mission that is distinct from yours, whatever this silly crew has been after. I have been after something way bigger. And if I fail, that would be shameful. I have calculated it over and over again, and there's only a tiny chance of failure. It would be very embarrassing. I need to get to the heart of the Palantir, and I need to save the core of it.
Build upon it and then choose a move. Heart.
I think removing your emotion chip did not do the thing you thought it was going to do. I think that you are feeling doubt and not clear where that.
You just dropped into mute.
Okay.
Could
Try
you
that
repeat
again.
the last? Yeah, exactly. I feel doubt, and then you broke off.
And you don't think you should be feeling anything, so it is very unset. Like whatever you did didn't work. And
So-
I am going to bring your comrade back if you accept this. I'm going to create an illusion you must struggle to escape from.
That is truly horrifying. Yes. So let's do that.
I need to know whether this is, do they look alive or dead, Palantir? The way he saw him on the slab or in the best of health?
Best of health, prime of life. And I think that, Count, you look down and you are also in the prime of your life again.
Ooh.
Less tech, less wrinkles. You can sort of feel, in whatever way synthetics feel age, it's gone. And you hear this person calling you from the next room.
Yeah, I look like down to my breast where I've just ripped out a couple of minutes ago these emotion thingies, whatever these little implements. See my perfect body there, and no scars or whatsoever. And I hear the voice, and I look at my hands, and they're young again. And I touch my hair; it's all there. I'm not bald any longer. I can see my long blonde hair, and I have this mustache that I've been wearing as a 30-year-old man, full of self-confidence and of energy and life, and I'm feeling all this again. And so even though somewhere in the back of my head it says miscalculation, please recalculate, I just move towards that voice. Conrad, is that you, my love? Are
My
you
darling,
there?
says Conrad, it has been so long.
It's been centuries. No one but me knows how long it has been. You have been dead for more than 200 years.
I'm not dead, my love. And I would suggest a deep kiss and embrace. So we have the Count held in this illusion of happiness. We have the vet confused. Let me come back to the vet. How do you intend to get to a sacrifice is made, a death welcome and peaceful, or one of you is going to survive, but the Palantir also survives, vet?
I am going to spend one token here. And like, I'm all confused and my consciousness is jumping around between these different bits of me that are spinning off and stuff like that and everything. And I realize, and I think about what the doctor said to me about electricity. And I realized that like, I must somehow, like when I destroyed the Ross doppelganger, this stuff got in me somehow. And that's how it's splitting me off and stuff like that. And maybe we even see like me remembering, you know, as one particularly hard punch lands, some like little globule of it, like, you know, whatever, like lands on my top lip and just like kind of like crawls up my nose, right? and as more and more things are splitting off of me and my consciousness is getting like more and more fragmented, I stagger into a lab, right? And certainly the medical bay, right? And there's, you know, and there's bodies there that are in like, you know, sealed like on like medical beds, but there's like plexiglass sealed over the top of them, and there's whatever, and there's like 5 of them, and they're all they all look like Ross, I think, right? They all look identical, like they look like Ross. And I just stagger, you know, and I just kind of come through there, and there's like a, you know, and like on the wall there's just a light panel, and I just like start hammering at it with my fist, and it cracks, and like my, you know, whatever, my knuckles are bloody, and I'm breaking bones in my hand and stuff. And I finally smash through it, and I grit my teeth, and I just punch it hard, and, you know, like I'm all like electrocuted and everything, and, you know, stuff comes up from me, and I use the specialist's knowledge to destroy the horror that has taken me over.
Great. Let me cut back to the Count, lost in this illusion of happiness and contentedness. Do you stay there?
I think I can hear the audience in front of the television say, "Oh, finally that annoying character got what he deserved." But he has one more trick up his sleeve. He embraces this beautiful young man. He himself being a beautiful man now, young and fresh and healthy looking, and he sees himself in a mirror that hangs over there, and he enjoys that. But something in his back says, recalculate, this is not correct. And the machine part of him gets the upper hand, and just quickly, and I spend my last token that I have to use what I've learned from the Fallen, describe how the horror stays frozen or inactive, and that was by shattering glass or a mirror, which the machine part of me does by simply punching that mirror, knowing it won't hurt me. And I'm not sure, do you want to describe what the horror does? Is it just fading away, or?
I mean, what I'm wondering is whether we realize cinematically that we've been looking at this in a mirror. And then you punch the mirror and it shatters, and we look back and there's the Count as we've previously seen him. Does that work?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, so I'm still asking the vet and the Count how we are going to get to, I mean, does that count as a sacrifice made, Count? Because that's our second story beat. To give up that.
Yes. Okay, let us say that before, just at this sort of brief moment before the machine fully takes over for good again, there's this last bit of emotion, and then there's this last tear leaving his left eye in slow-mo, and his lips seem to whisper the name of his beloved Conrad.
And a sacrifice is made and you're back in the room. What are you going to do now that you're back, Count?
I'm going to lecture the horror, because that's what I do. So you thought that you could beat me that easily. You are nothing but a security program to get me from taking what I've come for the core of the Palantir. I'm going to get it, and you won't stop me, because I am Count Krausenstein, and you won't stop me. Listen to me.
And I think that's a cue for the heart having failed to crush the Count. What does the flesh do? And while you're thinking about that, flesh, vet, you're back in the room, which, you know, you've blown across the room by the electric shock. What are you going to do?
You know, I like, I get myself up, and I stagger back out into the hall, and I'm staggering down the hall, yelling, Doc, 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 we gotta go, Doc.
And are you heading, unbeknownst to you perhaps, towards the airlock and the umbilical? I don't know.
I'm giving the Palantir the opportunity to tell me what I run into.
So, Heart, you have a chance to have a go at the vet. Flesh, you ready to have a crack at the count?
Yes. What from your past reveals your hubris or sin, Count?
I wasn't created a machine. I was born a human being, and have slowly added more machinery to myself, experimenting on myself, and what I have done, I have replaced at one point my brain, my biological brain, with a kind of supercomputer to think faster than any living being. And this supercomputer, through the recent events, has sort of kind of, how you say that, overloaded or whatever, and is starting to malfunction. So the hubris here is that I've done that to myself, and it shows by this, I don't know, nervous tics or whatever. It's starting to malfunction.
Build on it and use a move.
Mm-hmm. I think all around you start hearing that the voice of Conrad screaming, not from any particular angle or direction or room, or I think it's coming from everywhere. It's like the ship is screaming, if you accept the move, I guess. And was Conrad machine-like as well, or was he just regular human?
We don't need his entire backstory, but he was flesh and bone and a real human being, like the Count once was.
Okay. Then I think if you move through the hallways, hearing this scream all around you, you would see in all kinds of reflective surfaces all around you, Conrad's face and him in agony, and at certain points, blood seemingly dripping down from the glass and stuff like that. If you accept the move, you can do something else as well.
And to provide a further complication, you gain a token. What's the further complication, Count?
The further complication is that, I know that the further complication is that the closer I move towards my goal, the closer I get to more and more of those Conrads. So I have to sort of face my biggest fear in order to achieve my goal.
Give yourself a token. What about Heart? Do you want to have a go at the vet?
Vet, what beautiful lie do you want to believe?
Oh my God, that the doctor's still alive.
The doctor shows up.
Yeah.
I am going to give you the doctor in appearance and behavior who is actually a horror.
Yeah, sold.
What complication, vet? Then you can have the token.
I mean, I think the complication is that she is in a lab, and there are like 5 of her in there working. And very clearly they are like, you know, like working on essentially like they're creating people in there. And I think that this is the like the secret mission is that, yeah, there were colonists that they put in cryosleep, but like the ship didn't start full. Like they've been building the colonists as they've been going along and putting them in cold storage for when they get there.
Can I suggest that one of them is you?
Fine with me. Like, that's, I already thought that was pretty complicated, but that complicates it further. Sure, yeah.
Count, we're still aiming for, and I've just put in the chat. I think we're going to run over by 15 minutes. Is that okay? Thank you. So we have a sacrifice made. We are looking for a death welcome and peaceful, and a means by which at least one of us survives. So I think you need to decide, Count, which of those you're pitching at, or defer that to the vet.
The crew comes together. Is that still a beat that we are pursuing?
No, I think we got that at the point.
We did that at the very
and the vet.
beginning.
At the very beginning, yes. Thank you. Death.
You didn't stay together long, it must be said.
That's true. Right. A death welcome and peaceful.
You don't have to express one, but I think you need to tell us what you're doing, which should lead to one of those.
I achieve my goal. I reach the core of the Palantir. I see there, it's sort of a dark crystal flickering with some sort of energy field. It's there for the taking. If I take it, I have the most powerful, whatever power, the biggest power source in the universe, perhaps. It's all mine. I only need to take it. The only thing I need to do is to get past the 2 dozens of Conrads standing between me and this powerful thing.
Let me cut back to the vet. We left you staring, amazed at the dock. What do you do, vet?
I'm gonna like I press my, I look at the, there's like a security pump, like a biometric scanner there, and I sigh, and I press my palm against it, and of course the door opens. No reason for it to. I've never been on this ship before, but it does. And I kind of stare at it, and then I step through. And I just kind of step up to the doctor, and I look around at what they're, what everything that's going on around here. And I say, so is there any difference between you and her and me and them and Ross and Ross and Ross?
What does the Palantir say, Kim? Or the model of the doctor?
Do you want there to be?
I don't like the idea that I'm just a machine, because if I was just a machine, it seems awfully pointless to build me so that I could suffer like this.
And I think the doc says you're so much more than a machine.
What are you going to do when you get there?
What all life does, live. Come with us.
You know I can't.
I know. And we all turn and look at you.
I think you just asked what beautiful lie do you want to believe. And I think that is a hell of a bargain. Do you take it and add a complication, Vet?
Oh yeah, absolutely I do.
What do you actually do? Stay or do you go?
I nod once and I say, if von Clausewitz doesn't get home, they'll just keep coming. And if I don't go home, you know what I said? Sorry, let me rewind that a bit. I say, if one of us doesn't go back, they'll just keep coming. I got to find von Clausewitz. But I got to find von Clausewitz. And I turn and leave.
Meanwhile, in the heart, what is the Count doing? And how will the flesh mess with him?
The first 2 or 3 Conrads that come to him and open his arms to him and whisper lovely words into his ear, he just pushes them away, and it gets more and more difficult the further he gets towards the core of the Palantir, and the more Conrads seem to appear out of nowhere. But he makes his way forward step by step, very slowly.
Do you have a question to ask the Count, Flesh?
Yes, it's more of a question of the result of what my bargain will be. So we can kind of. My question would be, what grotesque and terrifying shapes will the horrors become if a certain condition is fulfilled?
Count?
I like.
The most grotesque and terrifying shape for the Count is if he would see the Conrad figures not as healthy young men, but as worn down machines, just like he is, like cyborg things. That would be, the grotesque shape.
The bargain would be, you can stay here. You can stay with them, but it will mean you will be absorbed into whatever the horror is. And in the horror is already Conrad, and there will also be you. So you could stay together, but your own self, your self-control will be gone. Your body will become just parts at this point.
I think, so mechanically I accept that, and I think how that plays out is that that the Palantir starts to whisper these promises into his ear, and he starts arguing like, if I get the core of the Palantir, I can create eternal life. I can bring Conrad back, and he will be with me. Why should I be with those false Conrads?
And I think they just kind of circle around you. There's no resisting. Join us here.
Is that what you're trying to say? Is that if I don't get the core, I get nothing? I understand what you're trying. If I do not go further, then I will have at least the illusion of Conrad for eternity.
I think they all kind of around you give you a look that you remember, a look that you love from the past. Like one of those looks people have that you recognize, that make him seem more real than he is in the moment.
So we had this little song together that we were always singing or humming in our most beautiful moments, and I start humming that song as a sign that I give in to the temptation. Are the Conrads humming back?
Yes, they're all joining in.
Is that a death welcome and peaceful?
Yeah, very peaceful.
Okay, vet.
Well,
What are you going to give me? What's the strong move you're going to give me with?
Yeah, because the Count has a death move.
okay, the death move at any time. Describe how. So do I need to trigger the death move now?
Given that we already know what the nature of the death, I don't think you should
Exactly.
select one of those, but you do get to choose one of your strong moves to give to another player, or the remaining player.
Okay, Jim, I want to work with you on that. Is there any one of those 4 moves that speaks to you? I mean, reveal hidden knowledge to be the hero. I mean, it's
Let me
basically
see.
your story now.
We know you're going to escape because that's our end point.
No, we don't. No, we don't know that. We know I'm going to survive. That is completely different than escaping.
No, sorry. So I guess it's almost about, is there a move he has that would strengthen what amounts to your epilogue?
Give the crew a clear goal to work towards.
And that's your move.
So I think we are at that point where we're almost epiloguing the vet out of this, aren't we? Or ending the story with what happens to the vet. So what do we see?
I think I get there just as like, what does this actually, like, what do we do with our special effects budget for the Count actually getting absorbed? Like, what is the like super gross body horror thing that happens? That's what I want to know. Like, that I walk in on as it's, too late to protect him.
I mean, I think that the beautiful Conrads singing this little melody or humming that melody, that's what I see. You see something completely different, grotesque, gross, horrible image. Me standing there in the middle, surrounded by 12 figures, and I smile at them happily in my last moments, starting to sing and to hum. And how do they look to you?
I think that like the harmonics, like I hear harmonics, but it doesn't sound like the song. It's like, like noise that is getting more and more uncomfortable. And as it is, their features are like rippling, like it's kind of like liquid, like the tympanic membrane of, that's being hit by vibrations. And as that's happening, their features are kind of, resolving between those ripples to look like you. And they're kind of basically sort of like, and as that happens, I suspect you're just like Raiders of the Lost Ark melting, like that white goop going down you and everything. And I don't know what your skeleton looks like when it's all over, whether it's like actual bones or,
there's
shot
very
metal
little,
or what.
Yeah, there's very little biological material left in my body. A bone here and there, yes, but mostly machine and metal and wires and whatever.
Okay.
So that's the last we see of the Count. What is the last we see of the vet?
I kind of look at the Count and I walk down the hall, and I pause, and I look up at the umbilical with our ship there, and I think that let me see, where's my and I'm going to spend my last 3 tokens. Well, whatever, I had 5 left, but I'm going to spend 3 and give the crew a clear path to safety. And I pause, I look up at the umbilical, and I turn back, and I kind of like close my eyes, and I like am clearly concentrating, and I like, you know, kind of slow my breath, and there's that kind of like as a duplicate of me climbs the ladder back into the ship, and you know, I kind of do one of these back down there, and I, you know, beep, 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 detach the umbilical, and the ship, you know, the ship that we arrive in, and it kind of goes off and goes off. And I walk back down the hall to the lab, and the door opens, and the doctor's there. And I just, and I look at her, and I say, we should be safe. And I just kind of hook a thumb over my shoulder that he's gone. And I say, I'm going to go back up to the, I'm going to go make some repairs. I'm going to fix things. If you need me, call me. I'll be in front.
And I think that's roll credits. Yeah. Okay. Now, I'm not going to take any more of your time for an on-screen Stars and Wishes, so I'm going to stop the recording now.